Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So the Washington football team finally hits that elusive double that we've been seeking all season long. They've had their first two-game win streak as they got the 27-21 victory over the Carolina Panthers in Ron Rivera's homecoming. Cam Newton going home. It was a very festive scene in Carolina, a very raucous crowd and an atmosphere that I knew would be challenging for this team. But once again, they rose to the occasion and are continuing to show that they're growing and maturing and that this team can travel on the road. This was the second-rated defense in the league at the time of this football game, and yet the offense really moved the football with relative ease, and the defense got timely stops in this football game, as well as really just being consistent and solid throughout. You know, slow start to the game initially, but then they revved it up and really shut the faucet off the entire second half, sans for one drive where the Panthers got into the end zone, and that was kind of aided by some penalties and some mistakes by Washington. That said, it was a really thorough team performance through and through. Offense was very good. Defense was very good. Special teams was solid. And it was a complimentary football team type of win. And it's what we're looking for and what we're looking to build off of if we think we can make a run at the postseason. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But I want to get to the keys to the game, see how we fared in that department, and talk about all of the things that we saw in the game that was exciting and that helped lead to the 27-21 victory over the Carolina Panthers. So we start with our offensive keys to the game versus Carolina's defense. And the first key was protect Taylor Heinicke and protect the ball. I gave us half credit on that one because they protected Taylor Heinicke really well. I thought the offensive line was tremendous in that regard, despite the 3 sacks given up. Like I said last week when they gave up, I think it was 5 sacks last week against Tampa, you could argue that 3 or 4 of those sacks were on Taylor Heinicke. Same thing in this game. He got sacked 3 times. You could argue 2 of those 3 sacks probably on Heinicke. Could have gotten either out of the pocket and extended the play or used his legs to make something out of nothing, or he could have gotten rid of the football, whether throwing it away or checking it down. So I thought that the offensive line was absolutely outstanding for, the situation that they found themselves in, playing 3 different centers in the game, going through 2 different right tackles, and going up against one of the better pass rushers in football. I thought they were outstanding. But we did have a turnover. Antonio Gibson did put it on the carpet. So did DeAndre Carter. Luckily enough for us, Carter's was recovered, but Gibson's was not. So that proved to be a costly fumble at the time, took points off the scoreboard, and really changed the momentum early in the ball game. So half of credit there for Washington in protecting Heinicke and protecting the football. The next key to the game offensively was Heinicke Ultra, not Heinicke Light. We need Heinicke Ultra, 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 not Heinicke Light. And we got Heinicke Ultra for the second consecutive week. 16 of 20, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. Heinicke was unflappable in this game, including what I continue to talk about as one of his signature plays. Everyone will always remember him for the dive in the playoff game versus Tampa. But, on his, highlight reel of plays, right after that, I think is this play to John Bates on a 4th down when you got to have it, game's tied at 21. You go for it on 4th down right around midfield, right around the 40, more or less. And, he pulls one out of his hat, 4th and 3, got to have it. He rolls out of the pocket after, not seeing anything initially come open, and he's under duress. He's got a defender breathing down his neck. He's able to stop on the brakes, avoid the defender initially, but that defender is now coming back, grabbing him. He stiff arms that guy, gets enough on the football, sidearm to John Bates, who then makes a diving stab and catches the football. It's a tremendous play. It's pretty much what Taylor Heinicke has been throughout his career, which is just an off-schedule, off-script, unorthodox gamer. And that was just it, Taylor Heinicke at his finest. And he was magnificent. We got Taylor Heinicke. He's best in that game. And anytime we've gotten, Heinicke Ultra, we've won football games this season. And I've already talked about that. And so I don't need to continue to belabor that point. But Heinicke Ultra gives us a chance every single week. He did it again. He did it again. And we got the win 27-21. Gave us a full check mark and 1 point there. The next key to the game offensively was get off to a fast start. Gave us a half point for that because really outside of that opening possession of the game where we had that miscommunication on third down and like 4. And first of all, I didn't like the play call to begin with. I never like sprint outs to the short side of the field. You cut the field in half. You're giving the quarterback 2 or 3 reads on one side of the field where it's condensed. It's almost like putting yourself in the red zone, but except you're doing it to yourself. Like, why would you sprint out to the short side of the field? I don't want to hear the excuse of we have numbers to that side of the field. I think it's dumb. Anyway, it didn't work, and we were confused. We had guys down the field. The offensive line played it like it was an RPO. They were run blocking. Heinicke is rolling out trying to throw it. I don't know if any receivers were even looking for the football. It was a disjointed play, and it ultimately resulted in a penalty being called and Washington having to punt. That said, after that possession, Washington then moved the football down the field 3 out of their next 4 possessions, resulting in 2 touchdowns and a fumble. So if not for the Gibby fumble, you're probably looking at 3 first-half touchdowns or 2 first-half touchdowns and a field goal. Either way, they started the game relatively hot after the first initial 3-and-out. And honestly, I only think that 3-and-out occurred because of the miscommunication. If they were able to get on the same page, the Panthers simply weren't able to stop us offensively really throughout the entire game. So if not for the miscommunication, you probably convert that. But that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is, despite the 3-and-out initially, I thought it was a fast start after that 3-and-out. So you get half credit because you didn't come right out of the gates guns a-blazing like the Panthers did, right down the field on your opening possession. But you settled in after that. You moved the football. You responded to them scoring. After the defense got you a stop on the second possession, you did your damage. Even though you fumbled that second possession, you got way down there. The defense got another stop. You got the football the third time, and you finally broke through and scored. So thought the offense started off fast enough, gave us half credit there. The next key to the game was get points, period. So I talked about, look, the Panthers aren't going to be a team that we have to worry about scoring 30 some odd points. I told you that's not their MO. I'm not afraid of a Cam Newton-led offense with him only having 1 week essentially of practice time to really get acclimated to what they're doing. They're going to take about 10 to 15 plays that he's really comfortable with, and they're going to run the hell out of those. And that's essentially what they did. I mean, how many times can you throw it to Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield, which is essentially what they did in the football game. And he was Christian McCaffrey. He was CMC. I mean, we know what this guy is, but we knew that that's it. I told you guys this isn't a explosive, dynamic, quick strike type of offense. They're a nickel and dime outfit offensively that if you play a sound game and you adhere to your principles, you'll keep everything in front of you and you'll stop them from putting up big points. Now, again, if you want to turn it over and aid and abet them in scoring points like Arizona did the previous week, be my guest, that's how they get to 34 points. But if you take care of the football, you force them to drive the length of the field, they're not going to score 30. So my whole message was get points, period. Like, I know you want to go for it on 4th down, and I was tempted one time, and Ron said, nope, not going to do it. And he was right because he stuck to the key to the game, which was get points, period. Okay, the Panthers aren't scoring 30, so you don't need to feel the need to go for it on 4th and 3 at the Carolina 11-yard line because you feel like, oh, my God, if we don't get 7 here, we're going to ultimately lose this game because they're going to score 30. That's not this week. This isn't Green Bay. This isn't Kansas City. It's not one of those teams. It's not Tampa Bay. It's not one of those teams where you feel the need to have to score essentially 30 in order to have a chance. It's Carolina. Just get points. If you got to settle for some field goals, settle for some field goals. Okay? But just get points and continue to apply pressure and force them to have to keep up. We did that in this game. We were 3 of 6 in the red zone. Again, 50%. We were 50% last week. You would ideally like to be better than 50%, especially when you make 6 trips into the red zone, which we did, which speaks to how proficient we were on the offensive side of the football. It reminds me of the Green Bay game when we had a ton of red zone trips. The only difference is in the Green Bay game, we were 0 of 6, and we came away with 0 points in that football game. In this game, we were 3 of 6, meaning we got 3 touchdowns. We had the fumble by Gibby, and then the other 2 possessions ended in field goals. So we were able to get 27 points in the red zone, and that was the difference in the game. We were able to score points. We were able to get something on the scoreboard, okay? These drives need to end with something tangible that we can feel and see on the scoreboard, and that Gibby fumble was the only one that didn't end in something ending up on the scoreboard for us. So, we needed to get points. We did that. And then another thing, we were 2 of 2 on 4th down. So that allowed us to keep drives alive and get to the scoreboard. Again, get into that red zone and be in comfortable positions to put points on the scoreboard. So that was a full check. And it was one of the bigger developments for the offense in this football game, is to get points and getting those touchdowns in the red zone. Then finally, the last key to the game was young guys got to step up. And I listed a bunch of names, but it wasn't limited to those guys, right? I listed Gibby, Dax Milne, DeAndre Carter isn't really a young guy, but De'Ami Brown, Sam Cosmi, John Bates, Samis Reyes, those were the names that I mentioned. But again, it wasn't limited to just those guys. How about James Smith-Williams? How about Casey Toohill stepping up? And those are defensive guys, I get it. But the young guys needed to step up in general. But offensively, I mean, if you just leave it to Bates, who had one of the biggest catches of the game, still had 3 catches for 30-some-odd yards. He was really effective in this football game. But that catch on 4th down was massive. And you just look at, what little Sam Cosmi gave us. He gave us something. Keith Ishmael had to come in the game for a few snaps. He gave us a little something. And then, of course, what you were able to get out of Gibby. Yep, he had the fumble. Yep, he had the out-of-bounds thing, late in the game. And Ron said he felt like Gibby got, horse-collared and thrown out of bounds, essentially. I think there's a little validity to that. I think Gibby's got to understand you got to get down. Don't allow yourself to be close enough to the sidelines where a player feels like they can pull you out of bounds. He needed to slide down a lot sooner. But, again, I think he was trying to get the first down, because if you get the first down, the game's over. So I think he was more fixated on, if I could just get this first down, no one will care that I run out of bounds. If I get this first down, the game's over. But that didn't happen. Gibby was outstanding, though. 19 carries, 95 yards. Despite the fumble, he ran extremely physical, kind of a continuation of the Tampa Bay game. Just physical runs, yards after contact. I thought he was phenomenal in this game, despite the the fumble and not getting out of bounds. I thought it was rough from that standpoint for him on the afternoon, but when you look at the way he performed in this game, I thought he was outstanding again. So another game, another bunch of contributions from young players, and that's a theme with this team because we're a young football team. Samis Reyes, again, not going to really talk about him much because he didn't have a catch, but his impact was felt. He was on the field for quite a few snaps as a run blocker, and he did a really solid job. In order to have success on the ground like we did, almost rushing for 200 yards, you got to have your tight ends be an integral part of the run game. Remember when we couldn't run the ball? We had no run game under John Gruden and Jay Gruden, and one of the reasons why we didn't have a run game is because our tight ends were terrible at blocking. Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis were horrendous. Well, part of the reason the run game is working now is because we have guys that can get it done in the run game. In Logan Thomas and Ricky Seals-Jones is a developing blocker and getting better and better. John Bates can block his ass off, and Samis Reyes is as physical as it gets. So you're seeing that. That's part of the reason we ran it for 191 yards in this football game against a very good Panthers defense. So gave us a full check for that one. And total, it's a 4 for the offense. Now you make your way to the defensive side of the football and what we needed to do against Carolina's O. And the first key to the game for the defense was neutralize Cam Newton's legs and his impact on the game. They did that to an extent. So I gave them half credit because Cam had 10 carries for 46 yards and the big 21-yard touchdown. So that's disappointing, right? That, you give up the big run, but take that run away, which you can't. And I hate when people say stuff like that. But you remove that run from his total. It's 9 rushes for 25 yards. That's a hell of a job on Cam Newton. And I can't tell you how many times James Smith-Williams turned him back inside and how many times multiple hats got to the football, made him either slide or got to him and gang tackled him for a minimal gain. I thought we did a really good job on Cam Newton, the runner. I thought we did a really good job on Cam Newton, the runner. But that touchdown run was a byproduct of his legs, and the touchdown pass was a byproduct of his legs. And that takes us to another one of our keys to the game. So half credit for neutralizing Cam Newton's legs and his impact on the game. Because I actually thought he threw it well, too. He wasn't as accurate as he could have been. He missed a couple of throws, especially, a couple of third down opportunities they had. He wasn't as sharp. But, again, for all the things considered with where he's coming from and what he's, what he has been exposed to and how much he's actually been able to grasp in this short amount of time, thought he was solid. Watch carefully for the RPOs and play them accordingly. I thought we really did a good job on the RPOs. Sands for the touchdown, the opening drive of the game. They had a nasty RPO, Cam fake draw pass to DJ Moore, who was wide open in the end zone. Someone told me that the offensive linemen were like 4 yards down the field on that play. I could believe it. I haven't watched it back a second time yet. I'll do that either tonight or tomorrow. But they got us really good on that one. It happens. And you know what it was? It was a part of their first scripted 15. And they ran it to perfection. And they got us. Outside of that, though, I thought we actually did a pretty good job against the RPOs, man. And we knew we were going to see a steady diet of them, and we did. And I thought we did an admirable job. So we got a full check mark there and a point. The next key to the game for Washington's defense, laser-like focus on CMC, especially as a wide receiver. All in all, Christian McCaffrey had 17 touches for 119 yards and a touchdown. Like, that's really as good as it's going to get. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that sounds asinine, but literally that's as good as it's going to get against Christian McCaffrey. 10 rushes for 59 yards or 10 rushes for 60 yards and 7 catches for 69 or 59 yards or vice versa. Either way, is essentially 10 carries, 60 yards, 7 catches, 60 yards is essentially what he did. That's as good as it's going to get. Like I said, this guy is an all-pro back, one of the best in the league when he's healthy, and that's not a debate. And to hold him down like that, I mean, again, I've seen this guy have games where he's got over 100 rushing and receiving. Like, he's that good of a football player. So anytime you can hold him down, under 70 in the rush or receiving department, which we did both, you got to feel good because he's a all-purpose machine. I mean, he's a walking 150 to 175 yards, and we held him to 119 total. So I felt good about what we did, and there were some big plays. Cole Holcomb with some big tackles. Cam Curl with arguably the biggest tackle of Christian McCaffrey, stopping him short of the first down on fourth down late in the ball game. So I thought we did as good as we could on Christian McCaffrey. The guy is almost uncheckable, and to limit him to 119 all-purpose yards, you got to feel damn good about that performance, and I do. We got a check mark for that and a full point. The next key to the game was continue to take the ball away. We had 5 straight games with at least 1 turnover forced coming into the game against Carolina. Sadly, that streak came to an end. We did not force a turnover. However, I did give us half credit. Why, you ask? Because the Panthers went for it on fourth down 3 times in the ball game and only converted 1. So they were 1 of 3 on fourth downs. And forcing a turnover on downs essentially is like creating a turnover. It's like creating a fumble or an interception. You literally get the ball at that spot where that play was whistled dead. So, to do what we did at the very end of the game, and essentially those stops came at the very end of the game. The final 2 possessions of the game for the Panthers ended in turnovers on down. That's like a turnover in my estimation. It's not going to go down in the stat sheet as a turnover, but you get the football right there, it's a turnover, essentially. And that's why they call it turnover on down. So I thought we did good enough to get half credit. But you want to force and generate those turnovers. We didn't do that in this game. But half credit for that for Washington's defense. And then finally, the last key to the game was start fast, finish halves. And I gave us half credit on this because obviously the Panthers marched it down the field on the opening possession, got the touchdown. It was what we felt like at the time. Maybe this is an ominous start. I never felt that way, but there were some in the MOBB that felt like, man, that was too easy. This could be a long day, and I never felt that way. But I knew we would settle in and we would settle down. But after that, they really did settle in. And I thought that second drive after the offense went 3 and out was huge by the defense to force the punt. Because if you give up any points on that second possession, it really puts us in quite the quandary, being down 2 scores on the road, raucous environment. The crowd is now going to be juiced because the offense has scored on 2 consecutive possessions. They would have had us in the danger zone. But and earlier in the season, we would have given it up on that second possession. But we're maturing as a defense. We're settling in. We're getting things done on third downs in particular. And we were able to get the stop, get the ball back to the offense. They drove it, the length of the field, and then Gibby fumbles. But it put the, Panthers in rough field position. You get the defensive stop. You get the ball back to the offense in great field position. And they were able to convert that into a touchdown. So I thought we started fast enough, but the thing that really put it over the top for me was finish halves. And the final 2 drives for the Panthers in the game were both turnovers on down. And the offense pretty much took care of the first half because by the time the Panthers got the football back, there was really no time for them to operate. They took a knee. We went to halftime. So I thought the defense actually did finish half strong. But the start to the game was huge because after giving up that initial touchdown, it could have gotten ugly. They sunk their teeth in, they dug their heels in, and they were able to get stops to give this offense a chance to respond. So give them a half point there for a grand total of 3.5. When you tally up the offense's grade and the defense's grade, you get a 7.5, and that is, again, outstanding. Anything north of 7 is good enough to win. Anything north of 7.5, and you should win. So, and we did win. So, another good performance by the football team, taking care of business in all facets of the game. So, let's get to in other news, and there are a couple of conversations to have. I want to start with Ron's day after presser, which was, I thought, pretty interesting to listen to. So Ron talked about the performance yesterday, obviously, and he talked about, some standouts from the game. We'll get to those in a second. He talked about where Washington sits right now in the playoff hunt and whether the division or just the wild card is attainable. We'll get to that. We'll put that on the back burner. But where I want to start is his discussion about Taylor Heinicke. And he essentially talked about his growth and maturation, what they see in him. And I keep talking about this, but Ron talks, and we've seen this with Ron. We've heard this from Ron. When Ron really likes you, he's perfusive in his praise of you. We've heard this numerous times with guys, whether it's Brandon Sheriff or it's Terry McLaurin, or it's this guy or it's that guy. He's very effusive in his praise. If if you're cool, but he's not like, really feeling you all that much, you can get a lukewarm, description of, what you've done on the field or what he thinks of you, i.e., our ex, I don't want to say he was a general manager, but, player of personnel, we'll call him. That was here. Allen. Not Allen. What the hell was his name? Why am I blanking on his name? It'll come to me. But we remember when Ron talked about his contribution and how he felt about him. Ron gave the most lukewarm answer, like, yeah, he's cool. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing, he's cool. But, it's whatever. He was like, that didn't sound like a ringing endorsement. You know what I'm saying? You could kind of tell at season's end, he's gone. Like, Ron pretty much told you, like, hey, he's cool, but I ain't giving him no credit for nothing because I don't want him here. And then, Dwayne Haskins, and even to a lesser degree, Alex Smith. I thought he was really, the way he approached Alex Smith, I thought was really telling as to how he talked about Alex Smith and bringing up Kyle Allen and pretty much saying if Kyle Allen was healthy, we could have done everything that we did with Alex Smith. So he's not talking like that about Taylor Heinicke. He's talking about Heinicke in the same sense of a Brandon Sheriff, of a Jonathan Allen, of a Terry McLaurin, where he's like, hey, this guy's really good. He's young. He's growing. He's learning. He's doing all the things we want him to do. And, he's a gamer. And we feel like he's continuing to grow and he's continuing to grasp some of the concepts that we're giving him. And he's starting to learn how to, navigate the football field, throw into tight windows, and figure out when he can cut it loose and when he needs to hold on. He says still feel like he can, avoid some of these sacks that he's taking, which we can all agree on. And we've talked about after these games that, some of these sacks are probably charged to his account. That said, I'm saying all of this because I'm telling you, if Heinicke continues to play the way he's played the last 2 weeks, I don't know if they're looking for a quarterback or not. That's why I'm telling you this. And for some of you out there, that is like nails on a chalkboard. That's like a metal spoon scraping a glass bowl for you. And I get it. And I told you, I don't know if there's anything Heinicke can do short of a playoff run to stop them from looking at a quarterback. He could play really well and they could still go out and draft a quarterback. But I'm just telling you, I think he's starting to like Heinicke more than ever before. And if that trend continues, maybe he convinces himself that this is the guy. We can win with him. We don't need anybody else. We'll see. Also, he talked about Gibby and the fumbling. And he said, look, just need to sit him down for a little while. Let him know, hey, got to take care of the football. He said, look, that was a tough deal, which it was because Gibby never saw the defender. And Ron said, look, he literally just got the football, took 1 or 2 steps, and then that guy put his hand on his arm, and the ball just squirted out. Gibby really never got a chance to put it away, But I'm not here to make any excuses. I don't think he saw the guy. It was a great play, but got to hold on to the football, bottom line. And Ron pretty much said the same thing. As far as the play on the field, Ron was very effusive in his praise of the defensive line. I talked about, the pocket collapsing around Cam, and he talked about the interior rush. So we kind of talked about the same things there. He talked about some unsung heroes, and he mentioned Kendall Fuller not getting enough credit for what he's doing in his communication. He talked about Cam Curl and how good he's been, and I thought he was phenomenal. Him and Cole Holcomb yesterday, I thought were the stars of the defense. They were exceptional. They were put into some tough spots, and they responded just about each and every single time. He talked about where we sit as a football team right now at 4-6, and how everything's wide open in the NFC playoffs, specifically the wild cards. And, Ron said, look, more or less, we're hunting after the wild card, but don't count us out of the division yet either. If we take care of business and everything aligns, we got 5 straight division games to wrap up this season. You got to take care of your division, and we have a chance to do that. So he's like, hey, don't count us out of the division. And I've already said that, and I gave you the premise last week, and I'm not going to lie to you. Last week, it was a little like, yeah, I'm trying to convince myself of this, but I wanted to see more. But I told you guys I was going to start talking reckless. I put out a video today where I was talking a little reckless, not too crazy, nothing crazy, but us catching Dallas is crazy. And I have to stop acting as if the Philadelphia Eagles don't exist, because they do, and they're actually ahead of us right now. So I think that's the perfect transition to where we're going. And essentially wrapping up what Ron said is that, look, the carrot dangling in front of their face last year was the division because it was so bad and it was there for the taking. The wild card is what you dangle in their face this year, but you also dangle an even bigger carrot, in front of them, and that's the division. And you let them choose which one they want to go after. If they want the division, then you dangle the big carrot in front of them, but it's going to require them to work harder, to be smarter, to be faster, to be stronger, to be tougher, to be mentally and physically engaged. And there can't be any letdowns week in, week out. But transitioning to the NFC East and where we sit, then we'll double back, get to some injuries from the game. And then I'll recap my schedule for the week and give you an update on that as the bye week is vastly approaching. The NFC East is really morphing into something interesting because just 2 weeks ago, it seemed like the Cowboys were running away with this division. The Eagles were coming off of another loss, this time to the Chargers. Washington was coming off of another loss, this time to the Broncos. And the Cowboys were coming off of another win. And so it just, seemed like, okay, I think they got their brains bashed in by the Broncos that same week. No, we played the Broncos the same week. The Cowboy, we were on our bye week 2 weeks ago. Cowboys lost to the Broncos, and the Eagles lost to the Chargers. That's what it was. And when looking at the division at that time, though, I just felt like, even with the loss, the Cowboys, I think at the time were 6-2 and dominating, the division. At that point, the Eagles were still a 2-win team. Washington was a 2-win team. Neither were really good. And I think the Eagles were a 3-win team, but they were still, trailing by a significant amount in the division. Either way, the Eagles won last week in dominating fashion over the who'd they beat last week? I can't remember who the Eagles beat, but I know they beat up on the Lions. They lost to the Chargers. Then they beat up on somebody last week, and then they beat up on the Saints this week. So they're starting to play good football. I said all of that to say this. They're starting to play good football, are the Eagles. And they're now 5-6. They haven't had their bye week yet. Meanwhile, Dallas lost to the Kansas City Chiefs 19-9. Lost CeeDee Lamb in the game to a concussion. He nor Amari Cooper is scheduled to play on Thursday. That's subject to change, especially with Cooper. CeeDee Lamb's out. Too quick of a turnaround to come back from a concussion. He's out. But they are slated to get Tyron Smith back. We'll see what kind of an impact he will have because they really missed him at left tackle. But I talked about this scenario last week where if Dallas loses 2 out of 3, which they've lost the first leg of that 2 out of 3, and then the other one I'm anticipating would have to be on the road at New Orleans, which I think New Orleans is free-falling, but they know how to play Dallas for some inexplicable reason. I don't see Vegas going to Dallas and winning on Thanksgiving, so I'm going to count that one as a win. But if they were to lose 2 out of 3 and we kept winning and we won all our games up until that matchup, that first matchup in 2 weeks, it would put us at 6-6. It would put them at 8-4, and a win over them would then put us one game back of them in the division. But like I said, I got to stop ignoring Philadelphia as if they don't exist. They're still ahead of us. They still are a team that, in order to get to the top spot in this division, we'd have to leapfrog them. And I just don't worry about the Eagles because we play them twice. You know, we have a chance to control that situation with our play. So the Cowboys are now 7-3. The Eagles are 5-6. Washington is 4-6. And I'm not really too concerned with the Giants because I think they're going to lose tonight, and I think they're probably more likely than not going to lose next week against the Eagles. If they win tonight, somehow, some way they beat Tampa Bay, then I'll start discussing them in these conversations. But right now, I don't think we need to even waste our time with the Giants because I just don't see them, winning the requisite amount of games that it'll take to qualify for postseason play. So the NFC East is starting to tighten up a little bit. Is the overarching theme there? Is that Dallas is starting to come back to the pack a little bit. And the Eagles are starting to play ball. We're starting to play ball. So both of us are approaching 500. The Eagles are a little bit closer than us at 5-6. We're at 4-6. And you could look up and, everybody with the Giants are at or above 500 in this division. So I think things are starting to tighten up there. And then let's go back to the injury situation. I've talked about wild card scenarios and things of that nature on other videos. And I just uploaded one. And I'll talk more about that, probably with you guys live tomorrow and maybe even, something on Wednesday. But as far as injuries are concerned, we left the game with a number of injuries. We don't know the severity of any of them. But obviously we went through three centers in this game. Or three centers this season, 2 in this particular game. Actually, we went through 3. I said it correctly. 4 centers for the season, 3 in this game. Started the game off with Tyler Lawson. He got injured. In comes Wes Schweitzer. He initially has something wrong with his ankle. They got to tape it up. In comes Keith Ishmael. So, don't know the severity of the injury to Wes Schweitzer. Don't know the significance of the injury to Tyler Larson yet. And J.D. McKissic did something to his foot. And we didn't really see him down the stretch of this football game. I'd like to know what's going on with J.D. McKissic as well. So that's another guy that got banged up in this game that I'd like to see come back healthy. And then finally, the schedule for my bye week, which is coming up. On Thursday is when the bye week begins, and it ends usually the following Thursday. But because Washington is playing on Monday, I'll be back for Monday Night Football overtime. So what the schedule will essentially look like is we will do a LouieTeeNetwork podcast on Tuesday. That will also, I will, do a Washington Football Nightly live show on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. Okay, so keep that in mind. Tuesday night, 8:30 p. We will be doing a Washington Football Nightly program. Wednesday, you'll get you'll get a Washington Football Nightly, and I think I'm going to try and do one more podcast. We'll see how that goes. And then Friday, you won't get anything on Thursday on Thanksgiving. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and enjoy your family, your friends, the food, the football, everything, the whole 9 yards. And then you'll get my preview and prediction for Washington versus Seattle and keys to the game on Friday. That'll be an upload that you'll get Friday, and then you won't get anything else from me, until Monday night. So just be on the lookout for that. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Washington Football Nightly. I was so excited last night. I stayed up a lot later than I should have. I probably look tired because I am tired, but I just know I got 2 days left. I got to go hard for those 2 days, and then I got a ton of rest coming my way. But I was so excited last night. I watched all the interviews, and I listened to everybody speak. I was looking for my Ron Rivera locker room post-game speech game ball being handed out. We didn't get it yet. I don't know if we're going to get it. I'm disappointed because usually they already have that stuff out. I've been looking for it. But nonetheless, I'm excited. And I'm excited about the prospects of this team doing something big this season. After it looked like nothing was going to come of this season, all of a sudden, we have hope, we have a life, and we have a chance. And this thing is wide open. And if we can somehow find a way to get healthy, and Logan Thomas, and that's another piece of news that I meant to bring up. Logan Thomas has been activated from the IR list, and now he's got 21 days to be brought up from the inactive list essentially to the active roster. So he's now going to practice with the football team, designated to return to practice. They've got 21 days to, figure out if they can activate him or not. That's a great sign, because what it means is more likely than not he'll practice this week, and if everything goes well with practice, he'll play on Monday night. So we could be getting Logan Thomas and Curtis Samuel back for this Monday Night Football tilt versus the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm not going to lie to you, Bart Scott can't wait. We'll see what happens, but continue to enjoy the win over the Panthers. And we've got an extra day to let it soak in this week, being that we play on Monday. So enjoy the win, and we'll come back. We'll chop it up live tomorrow night, and there'll be a bevy of topics that we'll discuss. And I may talk a little reckless tomorrow. I told you I would start talking somewhat reckless. It's time to start talking about the playoffs, man. I think we've got a legitimate shot. Looking at the landscape, why not us? That's been my mantra. That's been my motto. Why not us? I'm starting to believe it now. We will see. But in any event, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved Washington football team. Man, 2 in a row. Can we make it 3? We will see. But the fellas are playing well. All phases of the game. And that kind of complimentary football with the kind of talent, and a lot of you for a while there, what talent? We don't have any talent. I said, we got talent. We might have overrated some of the talent that we have, but we got talent. Starting the show. So is the depth. Either way, I feel really good about where we sit, and we'll continue to discuss this team and the prospects of it doing something big this season tomorrow. In any event, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll watch the Giants game tonight, and hopefully they get demolished and we can put them to bed, and then it'll just be a 3-team race in the NFC East, if you want to call it a race right now. It's still Dallas's division to lose, but I don't think they're going to run away from, even if it's not us, I don't know if they run away from the Eagles or not. But we'll see. They've already demolished the Eagles once, but they got to go to the link still. Meanwhile, we got them twice. So, a lot left there to be decided. But in any event, you guys get out of here. Have a great rest of your night. And I will see you either tonight for Monday Night Football overtime or tomorrow for Washington Football Report Live. Until then, you guys take care.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35.